All right, happy Wednesday. Welcome to Back Talks with Dr. Sean McWilliams, and we're going to be talking about something really cool, and that's Chiropractic's birthday. So glad to have you here. I know you might not think like, what do I need to know about Chiropractic's birthday for? Well, believe it or not, it's actually pretty cool. And there's probably a lot of information that maybe you didn't know and that I find absolutely fascinating when it comes to understanding it. So let's get into it. So happy birthday to that guy, even though it wasn't his birthday, but it was the day that he discovered something absolutely incredible. I do know that. And his name was D.D. Palmer. And D.D. Palmer was the founder of chiropractic. What's pretty amazing about D.D. Palmer was that he was actually a magnetic healer. Well, that might sound kind of really weird and fluky, but what I think is amazing is now in the year, 2025, we are using magnetic healing through machines called pulsed electromagnetic therapy to increase people's immune system, make their blood healthier. It's been used on animals and horses. If you have those, you're probably familiar with it. And even NASA put pulsed electromagnetic therapy machines into their spaceships so that astronauts' bodies were around the magnetic field that it was used to being in on planet Earth to keep them healthy. So, here's D.D. Palmer back in 1895 doing magnetic healing a little bit ahead of his time, which was really cool. But he came up with this cool idea that what if could we put on a healing type of modality that we do that is done with the hands. And so that's actually where the term comes from. Chiropractic is two Greek words meaning done by hand, which I think is really cool. I always tell chiropractors, if you're a medical doctor, you need your medical bag. If you're going to go on a hike somewhere, or if you're out in the jungle and you want to help someone, you need medications and drugs, and they're life-saving, don't get me wrong. But I said, the beautiful part about being a chiropractor is that all it takes is these two things right here, and you can change the function and physiology of the human body no matter where you're at. I've done it many times traveling. I've created amazing miracles for people, so it's just super cool to be able to do that. So what else? Well, what do you think was the first chiropractic adjustment? I think it's really fascinating to talk about. So, and the reason is because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people thought it was for neck pain or back pain. And believe it or not, the first chiropractic adjustment was actually done tomorrow, September 18th in 1895. And it was done on this gentleman named Harvey Lillard, who was the janitor working in the school where D.D. Palmer was doing his research at. And they became friends. And Harvey Lillard had told D.D., says, hey, when I was a young man, I was in this awkward position and I felt something pop in my back and I lost my hearing. And poor Harvey Lillard, which is actually a real picture of them, actually had remained deaf for 17 years of his life afterwards, which is horrible for him, right? So D.D. Palmer tried to explain to him about chiropractic and the spinal column putting pressure on the human nervous system and interfering with the expression of innate intelligence, the inborn intelligence that runs our body, that runs it through the nervous system to the best of our knowledge. And it controls 50 to 75 trillion tissue cells inside of your body and mine. And so he says, would you like me to check you and see if I think that one of your spinal bones is out of place and maybe doing this? And he says yes, and he found one. He made a chiropractic adjustment, obviously probably semi-crude back then, and Harvey Lillard got his hearing back. And that's how chiropractic started. And so D.D. Palmer must not have been able to sleep at night. He was probably so excited. And what he started doing is he started running advertisements in newspapers around the United States saying, I found the cure for deafness. And so people from around the United States who were deaf started flocking to Davenport, Iowa to come see this man. And unfortunately, he realized that he really didn't find the cure for deafness, even though he changed Harvey Lillard's life. But what they started noticing was that people who had other types of health conditions were starting to have amazing miracles occur in their life. They started feeling better from all different kind of conditions. So D.D. Palmer's like, hey, I think I still have something here. And that's how it all started. Were there challenges? Yeah, of course there were challenges. Some of the challenges were early controversy, practicing medicine without a license. The medical doctors did not like that. You got to realize, the medical doctors had a total monopoly on the healthcare of all the individuals for the most part, unless you were probably Indian, a native Indian, where you would use other types of healthcare and medicine men and things like that. But, for your technical medical doctors, they didn't like this so much that someone was starting to make changes in people's bodies for the good. They wanted a monopoly on it. So what wound up happening is that BJ or D.D. Palmer was put in jail in 1906 for practicing chiropractic. The Palmer School of Chiropractic became established in 1897, so just a couple of years after its miraculous discovery. And states didn't start really licensing the field until the year 1913. So, and that was in Kansas. So think about this, these guys came up with this idea in 1895 and continued to work on it, continued to try to help people have a better quality of life and have a choice of a different model of healthcare, and didn't start getting recognition and licensing until 1913. I think that's pretty cool. So there's Harvey Lillard and D.D. Palmer hanging out together. So some cool fun facts I thought I'd share with you right here. So one fun fact is the first adjustment was free. So D.D. Palmer decided not to charge Harvey Lillard for his life-changing adjustment. Of course, the focus was on hearing and not on back pain. Chiropractic's name actually came later. They didn't even call it that to begin with. And unfortunately, David Daniel Palmer got into a lot of trouble, but he continued to push forward. And thank God that he did. Because I always tell people that, if it wasn't for him inspiring a lot of people, chiropractic wouldn't be here for you right now. I just want you to know that. Some other cool fun facts, though, that you might not know is that his son, B.J. Palmer, so what wound up happening is that D.D. Palmer wanted to keep chiropractic a family secret. B.J., his son, goes, Dad, no, we need to share this. We need to teach other people how to do this. We can't just keep it to ourselves. D.D. didn't like that very much. So there was a tremendous amount of conflict between the two of them. I think they finally came to terms with it. And BJ, who started doing a tremendous amount of research on chiropractic and spinal adjustments in the human nervous system and its effect on human physiology and creating homeostasis, creating more of an inner balance to the body, which is what the body needs to heal, actually decided to have a radio station back in 1930 called WHO, which stood for the World Health Organization. And who do you think was his very first kind of DJ, sportscaster? Well, it was the very young Ronald Reagan. There he is, the sportscaster for WHO. Pretty cool stuff, right? A lot of people don't know that. So next time you're at the bar and you have Trivial Pursuit, that question comes up, I gotcha. All right. One of the things that I am incredibly passionate about, because I think that this, people who are serious, not about their success, but are serious that they need to make a improvement in the way that the world sees something, right? They have to stand for something. And what you probably don't know is that from the time of 1900 to 1931, more than 12,000, yes, that is correct, more than 12,000 chiropractors were jailed in the United States for quote unquote practicing medicine without a license because many states had not recognized chiropractic yet. 12,000. I mean, could you imagine? And I talk to doctors about this all the time, but as you sometimes forget, but on this special day, the day before the very first chiropractic adjustment ever, imagine that you're practicing out of your home, right, in this very new model of healthcare, and the police come knocking at your door, and you have a wife, perhaps, or a husband, maybe perhaps a few children. You're the main income winner and producer in your family. And these guys come and say, you either stop working on people and doing this chiropractic stuff, or we're taking you to jail. And these guys go, let's go. I'm not stopping. Man, the conviction that these men and women had was amazing. And I always say it, if it wasn't for them, you and I would never have the beautiful healing art of chiropractic in our lives. And so, how powerful is that? You know, we go into a chiropractor's office now, and it's, you know, it's very normal and customary. No one's getting put in jail for it. And the AMA has finally had to realize that they weren't going to have a monopoly on healthcare. They actually got busted for it, just so you know. There's a case in the 1970s called Wilk versus the AMA. Dr. Wilk, the chiropractor, against the AMA, and the AMA was trying to have a organized monopoly on healthcare in the United States. How freaking sick is that? And they got busted for it in the Supreme Court of the United States, and Dr. Wilk won. And that's where you started seeing a lot of things change. So there's some more history in chiropractic for you. But just that being said, you know, I love, it's one of my favorite sayings ever right here from B.J. Palmer. Stand for something, or you'll fall for anything and be good for nothing. Stand for something and be willing to go to jail for it if you believe that it's correct. Powerful words. And that's what I'm all about. You know, I've been practicing almost 30 years. Helped create hundreds of thousands of miracles. I've been blessed to be able to share with people and reduce expression, reduce interference to the expression of their normal neurological intelligence in their body to control all their 50, 75 trillion tissue cells and help them restore healing and health back. Like, how amazing. And I had a bigger vision, you know, that God gave me, and that's to help people around the world. I wanted more of an impact than just in my community. And so, you know, that's why we created Disc University, is to be able to help people all around the world. And I get to do that now. I have clients in Hawaii, all over the United States, Indonesia. I'm so blessed, you know, and there's so many unnecessary surgeries. You know, if you've been with me, you know where I stand with that at. So I don't want to go into it today, but if you know someone that needs help, you know, is being told that their only option is surgery, or they just want a non-surgical solution to see how they can manage their neck pain or back pain, DM me. Just put the word back pain in there, and I will get in touch with you, and we can set up a call. So I hope that you stand for something today in your life. Would you be willing to go to jail for it? That's the real question, right? A lot of people wouldn't. And sometimes I've asked myself that same question. Would I go to jail for chiropractic? And the answer is, yeah, I would. I really would. I've had a lot of healing arts, acupuncture, Reiki, massage, medical care, all that kind of stuff. I'll tell you what, I still think that when you visit a master chiropractor, a master, not a generalist, not someone that just dabbles in it, but a master. And my very first chiropractor was a master. No doubt about it. Unbelievable healer. The gentleman I go to now, master healer. No doubt. I mean, these guys have been doing this stuff for over 40 years and are still, I think, more passionate about it today than they were when they first started, which says a lot, right? These guys would go to jail for it. So Dr. Van Meter, thank you so much for being such an amazing influence in my life. He was my first chiropractor ever up in Broadheadsville, Pennsylvania. Man, wow, what a unbelievable guy. Dr. Mark DeAndrea, who takes care of me today. Thank you for all your help, my man. You're incredible, and an incredible human beings too. So stand for something today, or you'll fall for anything, be good for nothing. So let's all be good for something. I hope you learned some cool stuff. I know we mixed it up a little bit today. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you next week.